Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melody Nieves, and today we are breaking creative blocks. Let's get started. A creative block is exactly what it sounds like. You might be drawing or painting something, and then you just get stuck. You're not really sure how to finish it, or maybe it was hard to start to even begin with. Artists, writers, musicians do everything in their power to avoid this experience. Today we're going to talk about creative blocks, how and why they happen, and a few tips for getting back on track. I feel lucky these days in that I don't have as many creative blocks as I used to, but then again, I feel a lot more free in my creativity. I've come to learn that surrendering to the process has done a lot for my creative growth, so I feel more confident these days in tackling my ideas. That's why I'm getting ready to share some of these philosophies on this channel when it comes to creating, so that you very rarely have a moment when you feel like you're completely stuck in the mud. So let's take a look at creativity. Okay, so first things first, do you even see yourself as a creative? If not, then just consider that every single thought and action you take alone is creation. So you are inherently creative. Whether you apply that to visual arts or not is really up to you, but yeah, you're a creative. And anyone can be one. Our entire life is like this big old love letter to creativity. We fill every waking moment with something creative, whether we acknowledge it or not. From the phone in your hands to the clothes you have on, an entire life has been crafted by the hands of our ancestors and our own. So if Grandpapa and Grandmammy were totally okay with making art and engineering the life around them, then why is it so hard for our generation to embrace being creative? Being creative actually triggers guilt in a lot of people, almost as though something so natural isn't allowed to just be in our lives regularly. And creativity can feel like a holiday meal. It feels good because it takes a lot of effort while also nourishing everyone around you. Oddly enough, the first step to getting past these blockages is the initial commitment. I've been making art for over 25 years, and it's only been in the last 5 to 10 years that I finally just let myself make things. That initial step to getting past a creative block is to give yourself permission to create in the first place. And this process takes time, because usually you have to battle insecurities or self-worth things, or even like weird societal pressures, when all you really want to do is make something. I didn't have the support system that a lot of people might have thought that I had when I was younger, so I had to tell myself as a kid that it was okay to make my little paintings, because that wasn't hurting nobody. And that shift alone allowed me, even as a kid, to just accept that art was forever a part of my life. Choosing creativity is quite a transformational life choice, because it constantly requires you to work on it. And those new insights constantly challenge the old story you were telling yourself about the world. It's exhausting, honestly. So a part of navigating creativity is just navigating life in general. How well you maintain composure and tunnel vision toward your artistic goals directly impacts your ability to create. The next step to breaking these blockages is to address what's causing them in the first place. I've gotten in the habit of recognizing creative blocks as no different than satisfying a basic human need. So just like when you're hungry and your stomach growls, or you get a headache when you're dehydrated, I like to see these blockages as a vital creative signal. This innate communication between your soul and your body that says, hey, I'm gonna need you to do something else for a while before I let you create again. Which can mean anything, like going for a walk or having a new experience. Only you are really gonna know what you need in that moment. But instead of looking at it as a negative thing, you can use that initial block to pivot your mindset to what really needs to be addressed in your life. So now that you've addressed what's wrong and you took some time to ruminate on it, how do you stay in the spirit of creating? Well, you need a solid recipe. I've talked about this a lot in my videos and courses because your creative process is the backbone of your work. It's like having Google Maps with all the directions, and now you just have to drive there. Your methodology and routine become your directions. There might be some detours on the way, of course, but when those blockages come up, you know how to handle them better. So for instance, if I make something, I know that that initial drawing might take like an hour, right? But I'm also keeping in the back of my mind that the actual painting process might take 20 or 10 hours. So don't freak out after 3 hours and 20 minutes because it's not finished yet. And I think that that's what's so daunting to a lot of people, because they see this big window of time between the beginning and the finish line that they never even finish or start sometimes. Which brings me to my next point. Some creative blockages are meant to help you walk away from certain projects. There is so much art that I have made that y'all ain't never gonna see. Just sitting on my computer somewhere, and I do not care. Because there's nothing wrong with that. One time I had this idea for a painting and I said to myself, nope, you're not finishing this. A lot of people know I've been inspired by Frida Kahlo's work over the years, which kind of got blown out of proportion. I felt like people thought I was trying to be like her or something, when in reality, I just loved how honest she was about her pain and how she had the audacity to begin with to tell everybody. But then I had to realize that that was her journey, and that I wanted my life to be more than just about pain or cataloging it. These are the artists that resonate with me most because they come from the same tough backgrounds of needing to overcome something that is a lot harder than just boredom. Because I think a lot of times that's what people think a creative block is, that you're just bored or you're being lazy. You might have imposter syndrome, but there are so many underlying things that could be going on that are taking you away from creating. And I remember feeling like, well, then why don't you just tell a different story now? Like manifesting a new reality. You know, fill your portfolio up with all the stories of resilience and triumph and all the other interests you have, the things you love. And it actually caused a real internal shift where I started to take even my own healing seriously. Because as much as I love my art, my work was starting to get really dark. And as a trauma survivor, I became concerned that I was taking it on as an identity and unnecessarily triggering myself. It felt like a disservice to not also honor the parts of my life that gave me hope again. It's like realizing I needed to find a balance between expressing my pain and then also allowing myself the room to heal. So sometimes those blockages aren't just about the art, they're really about you and honoring a new phase you're stepping into. Part of the reason why so many artists can come up with ideas from thin air is because they have definitive interest outside of art. They may be activists or authors or explore other creative interests, which leads me to the next point. Who are you as a creative? Figuring this out is what's going to lead to a pretty massive breakthrough. You have a distinct calling card to who you are as a person, so it shows up in your work. So many get obsessed with improving technique, but at the core, we always ask ourselves, who are you? And who are you showing up as in the world? Yeah, it's really easy to get lost in portraiture or translating an image for the sake of anatomy and getting everything right and good looking. But what will your art be about? And how willing are you to display that kind of vulnerability to your audience? It's also time that you set your creative boundaries. Is that even a question you ask yourself? Do I have creative boundaries? Because I can listen to music every day, all day, sing, dance, have a good old time. But for the life of me, I can't understand why people would actually want to make visual art every single day. It is so hard. And I don't know why there's this weird obsession with overproducing. I mean, been there, done that. But I feel like it's because it takes so long to start making things you're proud of. And you really have to be willing to let go of a lot of projects in the process. In fact, you will absolutely create more art that you scrap than keep. And there's nothing wrong with that. But by surrendering to this notion early, there's no internal conflict when you know you just need to let an idea go. So on a practical front, here are a couple of things that may help with producing a lot more ideas. Find some resources. We haven't been gifted all these beautiful resources online for no reason, so please take advantage of them. Your online art community is waiting to help you with templates and brushes and all these cool things that can help your designs. Take ideas from life. Outside of life itself, your specific life is so abundantly rich with memories and ideas and opinions that I don't even know. Like, you got this whole life you could tell me about. Start there, and you'll always have ideas. As for my last tip, I always tell people this. It's to write every single idea down, no matter how bad you think it is. You just never know what the outcome could be from that initial concept. And it'll even help you get a good idea of where you're at in life, so you can prioritize the messages you tell your audience. The question that creativity asks is, how much do you really want to make something? Don't let something like a creative block deter you from experimenting or blossoming. It might just be the holding space you needed to take off. It is okay to not be afraid of creative blocks. Instead of seeing them as this burden, consider them as a call for fulfillment. And with a little reflection, you'll know exactly how to fill that cup.